Warhorse just added another legendary sword to Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 as part of the Mysteria Ecclesiae DLC. And now the Ancient Crusader sword of Boleslav Bavor has the highest total damage in the game. But my goodness, is it a nightmare to obtain. It's actually possible to miss it entirely as well, especially if you mess up the process of reforging it. In fact, you'd be forgiven for not realizing that you can reforge it at all. Let me explain how to get it and the other unique items you can find in the new DLC. So after starting the Mysteria Ecclesiae DLC here in Suchdale Castle on the west side of the Kuttenberg map, you'll then be able to follow the quest line until you access Sedlets Monestry, which has its own entire map as the new location added by the DLC. Now initially, when you first try and access the church, the crypt is actually sealed off until you reach the point in the main quest line where the monastery gets quarantined due to the plague outbreak. It's at this point you'll be able to investigate the crypt for the first time, and you will have the option to craft the unique plague mask before you do so. Now, if you do decide to go into the crypt without the plague mask, you will get a crippling debuff for the rest of the storyline. Even the unique potions you'll be provided with don't fully offset the negative status effects that you're going to receive. So to craft the plague mask, which I highly recommend, you're first going to need to obtain some mint or sage, which can be found in the herb garden right next to the infirmary just here on the map. You'll then be able to get the leather that you need next just west from the infirmary at the workers' camp here on the map. There's a few cow skin hides hidden up against the wall here or in the storage house that you can just go ahead and steal for yourself. Next, we can find the elusive hemp rope, which is just inside the monastery halls. You can either bribe the laborer standing outside the front entrance for the key, or you can pickpocket him, knock him out, or go around the long way to the other entrance. Once you're inside the monastery though, the rope you need for the mask can be found right in front of you just on the floor here. It's honestly a nightmare to find because there's lots of rope all over the place, but this seems to be the only one you can interact with and use. Then we need to get the aromatic oil crafting recipe. So to grab this, we need to go to the librarian in the south of the monastery, just over here in the library. And then you can either talk to him or you can sneak in and read his book, which is at the back on the southwest corner of the library room, just on the reading stand here. Go ahead and read that, and it's the second to last page. It's going to teach you the recipe for crafting the aromatic oil. And now, with everything we need to craft the plague mask, we can head back to the infirmary where you can find the alchemy crafting table and we can craft the essential oil. And the crafting recipe does need chamomile, sage, and beryllium to craft it, which you can also find once again at the herb garden just outside. And now we have everything we need to craft the plague mask, and we can use the desk in the same room here to actually craft it. And there it is, the ninja mask. It has bundles of fresh herbs tied around your neck with a rope, and then a cluster of leaves shoved deep into your nostrils so you can just smell that instead of the foul air around you, which was at the time believed to be what was spreading the plague. It's kind of hilarious, but it actually does look pretty cool as a stealth outfit as well. It's one of the few full masked hoods in the game. Next though, we can enter the crypt protected. And I recommend knocking out or killing the laborers that are guarding the upstairs monastery before you head inside, because it will help you later. Then we can use the ladder to actually access the crypt itself, where inside you'll find that the laborers, instead of repairing the crypt, were actually pulling open all the tombs and looking for something. And on the side of one of the tombs, you're going to find a sketch of a crest with lots of crosses on it. And then at the end of the tomb, you'll find a map of the tomb itself. And then you'll get locked inside by someone outside, and you'll need to figure out whether you want to unlock the door, or alternatively, you can find a secret wall, which is already crumbling to the left of the altar. Once you unpick this wall, it's going to lead you through to a secret part of the tomb where you'll then be able to exit. We will need to come back here again shortly, but for now we can exit out of the secret crypt, and then we can go behind the laborers and kill them from behind. These are the guys that traps you inside. And if you now take that mysterious parchment you found earlier with the crosses on to the monastery librarian, he will then recognize that it is a crest of Jerusalem, and this will then start the side quest, Seek and You Shall Find. He will tell you that you must wait until tomorrow so he can gather several travel records of the Crusader Knight Boleslav Bavor. So now you just need to continue with the main quest until the next cutscene, where a building gets burnt down. And then at this point you can return to the librarian Crispin, and he will now show you the two books that he found. One is an account of Boleslav Bavor and his travels to the Holy Land and how he obtained the wooden splinter of Christ's cross. You may have also noticed that many of these medieval manuscripts are illuminated with funny animal caricatures, similar to the real life ones in fact. And our new merch is actually inspired by exactly this. You can check it out for yourself from the link below. There's even more medieval inspired merch that you can find on the store as well. But next we can check out the monastery accounts, where we will see that Bavor made a large donation to the monastery. And after discussing your findings and a little convincing, Brother Crispin will then show you a sketch that he has of Bavor's actual night crest, and it shows an arrow above an ocean. As you can see, it's very different to the ones the grave robbers were using. So now with this new information, we can go back to the crypt and search the tombs for this hidden sigil. However, it's now being guarded by the Holy Order. So take care to wait until they finish their conversation before you actually enter the crypt itself. Interestingly, you can decide whether or not to take out the guards outside or just sneak in. And if you do just sneak in, it's going to trigger another event which I missed in my first playthrough. But once inside the crypt, you can search for Bavor's tomb, which you'll find in the secret part of the crypt through the hole in the wall that you dug earlier. You can go to the right and around the back, and you'll discover the tomb with Bavor's crest engraved on it. However, after you move the lid off the tomb, it's not him who's buried within the sarcophagus. The plot thickens. At this point, Henry will hear a loud noise and turn around, and you'll discover that somebody is watching you. Once again, you'll go outside the crypt, but now you'll find one of the guards is dead on the floor, and there's a trail of red that you can follow from his body into the now open passageway that leads back into the monastery cellars. Now, if you carry on following the trail, you'll discover a noble's hunting sword, a pretty decent one-handed weapon, which was discarded when the attacker fled. You carry on following the red path, you'll then discover the mercenary's body on the floor. But how he died, we don't really know yet. The next thing you can check is the murals in the church, which are just above the crypt. Right here on the map at the back, you'll find the illustrated story of Sir Bavor and his journey.
The start of Bavor's journey. That's probably Venice and Jerusalem. Holy relics hidden in barrels of olives, just like he wrote in his travel records. And the attack by Mamluk bandits. No doubt Bavor had courage aplenty. King of Cyprus, Knight Bavor, and his relic. Though that shield looks a bit different than the one in Crispin's sketch. Almost the same, only on the mural it's got that inner scutcheon added. They gave a lot of space to Bavor's crest and his elevation. Likely at the knight's own request. And the crest's all in one, with an angel and the relic. That must mean something.
Next, with this new information, we can head back to Librarian Crispin and report back on what we've discovered, which is that Bavor's grave was in fact moved and another high-ranking abbot placed within it. He then explains that the dead can be moved if they have no next of kin that are still alive. Basically, you're just making money from burying people under the cathedral. And so it must be the case that Sir Boleslav Bavor must have been moved to either the consecrated graveyard, which is the mass grave outside the monastery, or the infirmary grave within Sedlets Monastery, which is located just here on the map, and we can in fact access it from the infirmary by unlocking the hard lock or looting some of the keys off the guards, or even going the long way around. Once you do arrive within the infirmary though, once you do arrive inside the infirmary graveyard though, you'll need to find Boleslav Bavor's grave, and it's the overgrown one on the right as you enter. You're going to have to clean up the tomb to reveal his crest on the tombstone. At this point, after you found it, you can dig up the grave to reveal his festering corpse, the relic, and his unique sword, which you don't want to miss.
No sign of the relic, but then again, the mural showed that in his scutcheon in his crest. Let's see if I understood it right. By all the saints. Praise be to thee, Almighty Lord, and praise be to thee, merciful Christ, who suffered on the cross for us. Thank you for remembering us sinners in this time of trial, and for letting me find this treasure.
Amen. Nice choice of last words. And I'll be taking that treasure.
After discovering the relic, the mercenaries from the crypt will then come to ambush you. They're pretty ill-equipped, but so are you, given the fact that you gave all your armor and weapons at the start of this storyline when you entered the monastery. So it can be quite a challenging battle if you let yourself get surrounded and hit on the head in this 1 versus 3 fight. But after you've single-handedly dispatched all 3 of them, you'll want to make sure you pick up Boleslav Bavor's sword. You won't be able to do anything with it yet, and the grave will get covered up again later on in the story. So if you don't pick up that sword now, you will lose access to it forever.
Forgive me, Master Bavor. You won't be needing it anymore. My God. A Crusader's sword that saw the Holy Land. A true honor.
The sword itself is a tier 1 rusty shank at the moment, with only 42% durability left, and even once fully repaired, it's pretty much useless in its current state. But I will explain how to restore the weapon to its former legendary glory in a moment. Because as soon as you try and leave, you're going to get jumped by the Order, who will then interrogate you and take you to the Abbot. And at this point, you can actually lie about whether or not you found the ancient relic or not. And here's what happens if you do lie.
I've brought Henry here because we apprehended him in the infirmary graveyard. There was a fight. 3 men were killed, and the grave of the bearer of the arrow crest was looted.
Boleslav Bavor? I was just telling his grace about him. The relic, was it there?
Sadly not. Brother Crispin doubted the relic's existence from the beginning. And I'm afraid I must agree with him now.
I had begun to hope we'd truly find it. But yes, we were chasing a dodgy lead from the start.
Well, at least we tracked down Bavor's grave.
Truly? You wouldn't lie about something so serious, would you?
I speak the truth, Your Grace. I had to be sure. That's the only reason I disturbed Bavor's grave. I beg your forgiveness, but I swear, Bavor didn't have the relic with him.
But what about the open compartment on his tomb?
It was empty. I'd have missed it myself, if not for the mural in the church. Which only made the disappointment worse. Either the relic was never there, or someone took it long before I arrived. But I'd say it was just a myth. If a relic like that ever came here, certainly there'd be a record. Someone would know. Am I right, Your Grace?
I've never heard anything of the sort from my predecessors.
Nor I. I searched high and low, but found nothing. And it seems unlikely Bavor could have placed a relic in his sarcophagus without anyone knowing.
Then that just leaves the matter of the attackers.
Security in the monastery is your responsibility, Ludolf. How could they have got in?
Please accept my apology, Your Grace. The grounds are vast and complex, and with our numbers we simply can't guard it all. I take full responsibility and will do everything in our power to ensure this doesn't happen again.
Very well. I trust you'll keep your word, and there'll be no more such surprises. Now, please escort Henry to the infirmary. I must take time to reflect on all of this.
Now, beyond this point, I don't want to spoil the rest of the main storyline, but after you've got the good or bad ending, you'll now be free to leave the monastery, and that means we can repair Boleslav the Bavor's legendary sword. But wait, you may be tempted to take this tier 1 trash tier weapon to the grindstone and repair it. But do not do that. If you actually check your crafting recipes, you can see you've unlocked a new reforged version, but to forge it you need the broken version of his weapon, which you don't have, because obviously his sword isn't broken. So now you literally need to intentionally break his sword before you can reforge it, which is pretty funny. Now, the fastest method of doing this is to go outside the city walls and just start smashing the sword into the walls of the city. And very slowly, you will begin to reduce the weapon's condition. Unlike most weapons in the game, Boleslav's sword becomes a broken, unique weapon once you've destroyed it completely. So you can actually see just the handle and the broken bit of sword remain. And that's how you obtain the unique broken version of his weapon. However, make sure that you wait before you craft it, because first we need to obtain the ingredients for crafting the weapon from the local armor shop in town. Just go ahead and buy 1 Toledo steel and 1 iron from them. And then we can use their smithing area to forge the weapon at the back of the shop here. But do make sure that you save the game before you attempt to forge it. You see, you only get 1 chance to craft the Henry quality version of the weapon, which gives you the best version. If you mess that up and craft, for example, a tier 3 version and you didn't save beforehand, you will have to smash it against the city walls for 2 hours until you break it again. So unless you enjoy doing that, just save the game before you craft it. Don't forget to sharpen it on the grindstone, then you can see its stats. And when they're added together, it is the best short sword in the game, especially after the new balance patch which Warhorse released with this DLC. But the weapon itself has a modest appearance as a Knight Templar's sword. Looks especially cool with the Order's armor, which we stole from them. But obviously this sword is not as bling bling as the new legendary weapons and armor set that you can get from the Legacy of the Forge DLC, which I will link below my guide on how to get that in the description. I do think that the legend behind this weapon is one of the coolest in the game, and it's pretty awesome that you can restore the sword to its former glory. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one.